So I see during your workout that a lot of things have changed since the very beginning of the semester. And that's really wonderful to see. And I know that you have, there's always a moment in Pilates where you actually start to feel a little stronger in the center. And I said, a lot of people come to me, a lot of students come to me, and they tell me a little bit about how they're a little more aware in terms of doing other things outside, whether or not it's sports or you know, doing some things in their apartment, or in general, you know, working or just being more aware of the body. So I like to, from this class, we haven't talked about this in this class, but I have seen your body change. I have seen a lot of you, you know, really sitting more upright or be more aware of your posture, or just in general, like be a little bit more healthy and happy, right? And even though we're towards the end of the semester and people start getting sick and all that, but I see that you're a little bit more present in the class as well. So I just wanted to hear a little bit from you. Is anybody here would like to share that, or have this happened to you, or am I just imagining? Yeah.
I feel that sometimes even after I do sports, or if I feel like I've maybe pulled a muscle or something, I do some of the exercises that we do here, and it helps to kind of loosen myself up.
Great. Yeah, because remember, this is just not like, you know, I'm taking Pilates classes because I want to get the credit, and, you know, I have to do this because it's for you to use in real life, right? Whether or not you have a sports event, you want to get ready, you want to warm up, you want to make sure you're flexible, your body's strong, or you just basically doing this as a regular routine that you do so that you can stay well, that you can really have a machine that it's really working for you to be able to enjoy life, right? And that's what Joseph Pilates really wanted to do, right? If you read his book, In Reserve at the Library for You, you know that, right? He talks about that. Like, well, we do this 20 minutes a day, we'll take care of our body. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning so that you could do anything else that you want to do, that you love to do, right? Good. Anybody else?
I think, like you said, about being more aware of your body. Mm-hmm. And you really get to define each section and just get to know it like you really haven't before. And the more I learn about Joseph Pilates, the more I realize how amazing he was.
Yeah. Now, Joseph Pilates actually studied the body a lot. I mean, he develops this method by really studying a tremendous amount. And you all know why. One reason why, because it wasn't really that healthy, right? Even at this very young age. So he had to do a lot of his own work in terms of getting to know the body. And one of the things that I love about, you know, this method, when I first realized what we were doing in here, is that you work in the muscles very close to the core of the body. So you're not really moving the limbs, and you're not really getting strong in here or in here, but you're very much getting strong, and everything is connected to what? We always hear about it, right? It's the core. It's the center of the body. That's why we talk about the box, but it's very much the torso. It's basically with everything stays here. It's like the muscles there are the biggest, the strongest, but it also the muscles there are closer to the spine. And sometimes we hear about intrinsic muscles of the spine. It could be the intrinsic muscles of another body part, but it's closer to the bone, right? So you're starting getting stronger from here and then here. And that what makes a very healthy body. You also do what in Pilates? Always the opposition. If you work with a lot of flexion, then you also work with a lot of extension, right? So it's always a balance. If you do some stretching, you're doing also some strengthening at the same time. You always thinking about working with the opposition in even the action. Remember where we just finished and we were doing one way and then you reverse that action to return? I mean, if you think about what you're doing, your mat work is all about that, right? You're doing one flexion, you're doing the roll up, and then you're doing the rollover. Or you're doing, well, you're not doing the rollover because, you're not ready yet, but I'm just like, if you think about it, there's always the same motion from one end of one body and then the opposite with the other end of the other body, coming the other way. So there's always about some kind of opposition. So if I want to create a stretch or a lengthening, and if David is not holding the other side, let go for a second, and I'm pulling, there's not going to be anything there. But if I have the opposite end stabilized and I'm pulling and I'm lengthening, that's going to happen because there is an opposition force, right? And that's where you always want to think about as you move through every exercise. And most likely, where do you think the other possible opposite force coming from? Gravity. Well, let's talk about gravity in a moment, okay? But if I want to create resistance or some kind of opposite force, one end is the movement part, right? Let's say this is the one that it's moving. The other end in Pilates is where a lot of the time. Yeah, again, the stabilization of the core. The muscles, they're stronger in the core and the torso, right? So you always want to make sure that you always feel the opposition, and one is most likely coming somewhere in here, right? So gravity is an example of sometimes working with resistance. For instance, when you're standing, right? Because gravity, you don't really feel so much gravity because you're working on the floor unless your legs are up in the air. But when you're standing, then you have to work with gravity. Against gravity, with gravity, it depends on what you want to create. But the example is when you stand and do the weight series, right? And you really want to imagine that you work with water or mud, some kind of force that it's giving you a little bit of resistance, and gravity sometimes helps, right? So if I want to have a movement to have gravity helping me, would be doing, remember what we did at the very beginning? Right? Now I work here. If I want gravity to take care of my body on the way down, I'll just relax and gravity will do it for me, right? From here, that's gravity pushing my leg down. But in Pilates, we don't want to do that because we always want to be in control. So then I'm slowing it down or I'm going faster than gravity so that I'm doing the action, right? And that's why sometimes it's fun to do, to find that balance. So you have to work with gravity, but also you have to challenge your balance because moving quickly, you have to also be able to readjust a lot of different muscles, so have a lot of coordination, right? So remember, the main point of working deep in the core is to protect what? To protect the spine, to help the spine, especially the lumbar spine, right? To elongate so that you're not compressing and you're not gonna get these guys over here, herniation, or bulgy discs, right? But to protect what? Look, this is all bone here, and it's protecting all those organs in here. Lungs, heart, right? Stomach, little lower, right? But some is protected here, like our sex organs and all that here, but what happened in the middle? There's no bones here. So you have to be able to be strong some, to build up some strength, they will be acting as bones to protect all the other organs right in front of your body. And that's why it's so important to get your core work done, right? So you not just for the look, the lean look, and because, it's really vital. There's a lot of organs in there that are very essential, and they also have to stay in their position so that you're not end up, with a stomach on that side, right? They all have to stay where they are built to stay. So if you're strong in here, you protect them. And if something happens to you and somebody comes over and punches your stomach without you realizing it or seeing coming, then you protect your organs. If you have a car accident, right? I mean, this is, remember, Joseph Pilates was a survivor, right? So this is all about just not himself, but it's basically, in general, just the healthy body. This is what you do. You want to protect it from any kind of injury. So this is why we're doing a lot of core work. There's a lot of good stuff in here. We want to make sure we protect it. Okay? Is there any other thing that comes up to your mind or like to... I have one more thing I like to check on you, make sure that you really be prepared, right? So we talked about the 6 principles a little bit at the beginning. We always keep that in mind as we go through the routine, because we don't want to just think it's movement, I just have to do the exercise so I get a better tricep here. No, it's just, again, there's a philosophy here you have to make sure that you're aware of. And a lot of people don't know really where this is coming from, okay? You're doing a lot of kinesthetic because Joseph Pilates really built this method with a lot of gymnastic in it, a lot of other, good things that come from other sports or other movement methods. And there's also a lot of mind-body connection, right? So, can you tell me some of the 5 principles of the mind that Joseph Pilates talked about in this book? Intention, very important. Willpower. If you don't have a will, there's nothing I can do for you. You can't help yourself either. You have to want to have something. You want to do something. You really want to make sure that you wish that, right? So willpower nowadays is really difficult to have, and sometimes because there's a lot of things going on in the world that constantly distract us, right? So willpower is also like being there, be present, discipline. And that's what Joseph Pilates is doing with this method as well. What else? Memory. Oh goodness, yes, memory is very important. So memory helps us to connect, make connections. It's muscle memory. Is muscle memory in your muscles? No. Where is muscle memory? Yes, in your brain. So you have to remember, you have to start connecting dots. If you're not connecting dots, you're not going to remember, right? It's recalling what's been learned, okay? Very important, guys, because when we get older, what else? Intuition. Now, intuition is part of like being healthy. Am I doing this? What is the intuition? It's like that gut feeling that tells you something that you really don't know where it's coming from. It's not something you've learned, but it's something that you already know, okay? You have to listen to that. Everybody has intuition. Some people are more intuitive than others, but we all have that capacity. So that's very important because sometimes that helps to make our, help us to get a judgment call, right? To make some decisions. So that's very important. What else? Intelligence. Yes, very important. You have to be intelligent. And that's what David was saying before. Your body becomes more intelligent because it becomes more aware. So you have to really know a little bit more about yourself, And this is a wonderful time in your lifetime to get to know yourself, right? Because if you don't know it now, if you're not really start to get to know yourself, it's going to be really hard to do that later on, right? This is where you have to discover what's good for you, what's not good for you, what you like, what you don't like, what it feels right, right? So this is a very good time in life to be attuned to that, okay? Did we miss anything else? Imagination, yes, that was great. Imagination helps us to work with precision, right? Because if you imagine what you have to do, you're already working in your brain, then you're starting to coordinate the right muscles, but it's also to visualize and have this picture in your head, and then just make sure that it comes through the body, through the movement, or whatever you're doing. So, yeah, we work with a lot of that. We work a lot with imagination. Okay, so that's very important too. All right, so have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Thank you.